my friends, Paul here in the RoJoBe Music Workshop, and welcome to part 9 of another cigar box guitar. So at the end of the last video, I'd done a majority of the fret job on this instrument. So off camera, I just finished it off, did the tidying up and the refining of the sharp edges, and I've oiled the whole thing. So the neck and headstock and the fretboard and the top of the body, so that looks really nice now, beautifully smooth. Same with the neck, lovely and smooth, and the fretboard looks, in my opinion, amazing. The camera really doesn't do it justice, but you know, looking at it in person, it looks really nice. Couple of other things I did as well off camera. About the nut, I'd found an old ukulele saddle, which I was quite sure was bone. It turns out it is bone, so I've used that. So I've cut that down, and I've actually put the nut in. It's still high, but you know, I've put the radius on it. Wasn't really much to see, just a bit of cutting, filing and sanding. I've put the middle, I don't think you'll be able to see it, but I've started the middle slot for the middle string, because the other thing I had to do as well was line up the bridge, because on measuring the angle of the neck side to side, it was just slightly off center. So if you put the bridge in the center of the body, then you know your strings are going to be all off. So you've got to line the bridge up with the alignment of the neck. So I'd measured all that up and marked it as well, and I've got the holes drilled for the bridge. Don't know how well you can see those, but I've got the 4 holes drilled for the bridge. So the next job now is to fit the bridge and attach the strings, and excuse me, where's the hardware? There we go. And you know, start to set everything up. I've got to put the slots in the nut, but I can't do that until I've got the strings on, so that I know exactly where I want those. Now, unlike the previous build, I put this one with the fretboard going over the top of the body, so the neck itself is higher, but you won't see it, but there is a break angle, so the neck comes back a bit. That's, you know, to get your right height on the strings and everything else. So a couple of other things I had to sort out. I mean, there was no point filming any of this, it was all just, you know, little fiddly bits. So my bridge, it does have adjustment on it for string height, but because of this neck angle, I may or may not need to put a spacer underneath the bridge. So I've made 2 spacers. They're 2 different thicknesses. I don't know how well you can see that, but this one is 4.8 millimeters. This one is 2.8 millimeters. So, you know, I'm not sure if I'm going to need them or not, but I thought I might as well make them. And to make these 2 spacers, it took me about 10 minutes. Literally just put the bridge on a piece of wood, drew around it, cut it out, shaped it, and then put that on top of another piece of wood. So, as I said, I've got the 2 different thicknesses. And, you know, did the same with that. Then I lined them up together with the bridge on top and drilled the holes. So, as I said, I may or may not need those, but they're there if I do. They're already made, and like I said, they took me 10 minutes to make, so no brainer really. Also, let me just get these out. The screws that come with the bridge are, I would say, an inch and a quarter long, because they're designed for solid body instruments. So I don't want the screws to go right through the body. I don't want them to poke through on the inside. So luckily I had some other gold coloured screws, So these are the ones that came supplied with the bridge. Hold on, let me just hold that a bit better. And these are the ones that I found that I had in stock. They're not quite as shiny as these ones, but it won't matter. That camera doesn't, it looks a lot duller on the camera. I mean, I can always polish them up if necessary, but they do match. You know, that's the screw that I found in the body. I mean, it matches, it's close enough. No one's going to notice any difference. And also, these ones are, the top of the head is flat, whereas the supplied ones, they have a curved top, which does, I suppose it looks a bit better, but I do prefer the flat ones. Keep everything flush. Right, so, let me just fit the bridge first. That's obviously the first thing to do. Let's get that way. Okay, so, find a suitable screwdriver, 4 screws. Okay, so attach the bridge first. So as with everything, I'm not going to put any glue on these screws yet, because I may need to take this bridge off again if I need to put those one of those spacers in. So I'm just going to dry fit it for now, and I'll put some wood glue on those screws towards the end of the job when I'm happy with everything. Pull that down a bit more. Okay, another one. So yeah, as I said, I mean, you know, if your neck is slightly askew, which mine is by about a couple of millimeters from top to bottom, which isn't a lot, but like I said, if I put the bridge in the middle of the body, then the strings wouldn't line up properly. So you've got to align your bridge with your neck as it is. So that's what I've done, and it does mean that the bridge is off centre, but it's not by much, and you don't really notice it. It's not going to make any difference to playability or anything like that. Not going to be a problem at all. Right, last screw going in. So before I, did any of the drilling, I measured everything up, made sure that the screws I have are not going to go right through the body, and they don't, which is good. I'm sure that's the right screwdriver for that. Let me find another one. One of these smaller ones. Let's go with that one. These screws are very soft. They've already started to muller a bit, but I've got plenty of these screws, thankfully. Right, so that's the bridge secured on. Okay, so strings. Now, I always use acoustic guitar strings for these builds, because it is an acoustic instrument. So I've gone slightly thinner gauge with these than the previous one, literally by 0.02 of an inch per string, which is completely unnoticeable. Right, so let me just first get all the strings in the bridge, because that's always a bit of a fiddly job for some reason. Shouldn't be. Okay, so I'll put the middle one in first, as that's the one I've got in my hand. That one, and the bass string, just make sure I get these the right way around. So there wasn't really any particular reason for going thinner gauge. I just went with what I had in stock. I've got quite a few single strings in stock. What I wanted to make sure was that they were all the same brand, and you know, the right gauges in relation to each other. So basically the second, third and fourth string of guitar. Okay, so bass string, just put a little bend on the end of the string. And in that goes. Well, that was a bit easy. Okay, and the treble string. So for those of you that are interested, I'm using Diodario or D'Addario strings, acoustic guitar strings, and the gauges are 13, 23 and 30, if that's relevant to any of you. Okay, so let's just get this treble string unwound. Easier said than done for some reason. Keep an eye on the time as well. Plenty of time for now. Oh, come on. Once again, it's that scenario. If it's going to go wrong, it'll go wrong on camera. I just can't get the string unwound. Oh dear. There we go. Got it. Okay. Tangle it up. Okay. Once again, a little bend on the end of the string to help to feed it through the adjuster on the bridge. A little bit like that. Okay. So that's all the strings threaded in. Okay, let me just give this a thought for a minute. Make sure I'm not jumping the gun anywhere. I'll do it this way. Yeah, sure. So that you can see what I'm doing. Let's just bring that down and zoom in a little bit more. How's that for focus? Yeah, not bad. Okay, so I'm going to start with the bass string, which will go on this closest tuner. So bring the string up taut, bring it to the outside of the tuner, wrap it around one, almost two times, about 1 3/4, if it will stay on there. Okay, and then through the hole. Taut. Okay, and I'll wind it on a little bit just to take the slackness out of it. Okay, let's go with that. A little bit more. Okay, I'm not going to put any tension on them just yet. Just want to get them so that they stay still. Okay, middle string. So wrap it around 1, 2, about 2 1/4 times around that one. Through the hole. Being careful not to jab my finger with the end of the string. Okay, right up top. So as I said, I've got the slot started for that middle string, so I'll just put it in there just to keep things a bit tidier. Okay, that will do for now. And the treble string. So once again, pull it up taut, around the outside of the post and wrap it around 1, 2, 3 times. case. I don't usually do that, but this one. And up under the last loop to lock it in place. My hands are a bit slippery, so that's kind of tricky. Okay. Right, so all the strings are in. Okay, so I won't cut those ends off yet. I want to line up where the strings are going to go on the nut before I do anything else. Okay, let's bring that up to about there. That's all right. You can just tighten the strings up a little bit more so I can get an accurate alignment. I'm not going up to tension, they're just tight enough to keep them straight when I line them up. A bit more on that one. Okay, so now it's a case of lining them up so that we get a decent taper on the strings. Here's my mechanical pencil. Okay, so that looks good. Let's go with, let's just try that again. Yep, that looks about right. And the bass string. What's happened there? Okay, let's go with about there. Looks quite good. So I'm just going to, I've got the two marks now on the nut. I'm just going to measure the distance of those from the side of the fretboard before I do anything else, just to make sure we've got good alignment, and also the distance between those marks and the middle string. So from the end of the nut, we've got it's quite hard to get an accurate reading there, but that looks like around 4 millimeters. Let's just check the other side. Yeah, it's about the same. So now let's check the distance between each of the strings. Now I've got about 10.5 mil there, and okay, I'll just measure that again, 1 second. 10.5. Yeah, they look pretty much bang on to me. So let me just put both of the strings on those marks first, see how that looks for alignment. Absolutely spot on. Happy with that? Good, okay. So now that I've got the marks on there, the next stage is to actually cut the slots. And as before, I need to angle the slots downwards towards the headstock, but also you need to angle them towards the tuner as well. Just making sure that the back edge of the nut is the last place where the string touches. So that's the crucial part of the alignment on the fretboard side of the nut. That's where your slot has to start. That's the first or last, if you prefer, place where the string should touch the nut, so that everything's in alignment. But I've got to angle the slot towards the outside of each tuner, so that the string doesn't bind in the slot, because if it tries to go around a corner out of the nut, it's going to bind up. So I've got to angle the slot towards the tuner. And I've got to take all of the slots down quite a way. Now, I'm not going to film this again. You've seen it before, you know what I'm doing. It's a long process, or it can be a long process, even with a 3-string instrument. So I'm going to get that buttoned up. So I'm going to get sort of into the ballpark. I'm not going to, adjust them exactly, because I've still got to adjust the bridge. And looking at the string height at the bottom end, I've got quite a bit of adjustment on the bridge, so I probably won't need any of those spacers, but I'll see. I may do, but it's not looking as though I will need to. So I'm going to do the nut slots off camera, and then when I've got those in the ballpark, I will make one final video, which will be number 10, of the final setup, which is kind of exciting. So I'd like to thank you all for watching. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't already. If you're enjoying these videos, please give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Tell your friends, colleagues and relatives all about this wonderful channel, and we will see you in the next one. Peace out.